right, so I did, earlier I did like a little bit of Lee Morgan on my F. Besson, or no, it was my Besson and Company new creation, and this is my handcraft Martin standard. Um, so yeah, from Elkhart. Do, 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 do. Okay, and so what I want to say about Chet Baker is I'm using a 5B, and there's so much air in his tone. It's already like a slightly larger. If C is common, if C is a very, very frequently, like that's what band will use. Like I used, everybody used 7Cs to start off, and 5 and 3 are really popular. But for me, like I went 7C, and then I had the 1C and the 1 1/4. So 1 1/4C. So those are medium, like one size fits all, quite universal mouthpieces, and a lot of orchestral people use the 1 and the 1 1/4, 1 3/4. Those are all important. Those are all like frequently used, and the 5C and the 3C are too. And obviously you'll hear some 7C, and then obviously piccolo, trumpet, and stuff. You use higher sizes, along with some of the earlier jazz guys. More obviously, you'll hear like a shallower mouthpiece, but this is actually the other direction, and it's it's a B. So, Clifford Brown had like the C's back then, the C1 and the C2, much closer to it's closer to an E or a D. They had he used the 17C1 or C2 famously. Either way, like the 17Cs, C1 and C2, those were like closer to a D or E on the 17, that high in the scale. Like now they're much more they've been a little bit more consistent and expected, with the the C being very consistent. But back in those days, in the 1950s, with the Mount Vernon parts and Bach, they had more tailored expectations. Even when you picked a C up, like it was just it's supposed to do a thing, not just be consistent through the system. So anyway, which is what we have now. It's like we can kind of get what we expected out of a thing, because it's more designed, because consumers are aware of the system a little more, and they have expectations. Either one, the expectations either way, but I think people are trying to achieve consistency more often. So at least with that brand. And then what we have here is like try to make your mouth like taller first thing. So get some distance between your teeth. And then start behind the corners of your mouth, and if you can feel a little bit of abduction of air, like kind of like hinting, I don't think you're actually necessarily leaking air, but it would seem like it would be okay if air was almost coming out laterally from the medial line of your mouthpiece. And the most important thing to me is probably the helix, or the helical crest of the ear, and the outside, the outer edge, the outermost, the most distal lateral edges, and then over here, like we've got the lambdoid suture. So actually, it's like the supreme nuchus of skull back here, above the occipital, above the occipital notch, kind of, so the supreme nuchus, not the superior nuchus, which is more like the occipital notch, but the supreme nuchus above here, and the lateral edges, where kind of where the sutures are. Um, hmm. So, and when you pronounce things, it's all right. So I think it's definitely like we've got um, the sublingual. It's not actually it's not actually the lingual frenula, or no, it's actually when I was doing Lee Morgan, I was using the lingual plica under the tongue. Literally, what I'm using with Chet Baker, I have to use the um, like the sublingual. Yeah, it just has to be like I just know that I'm transmitting my articulation along the sublingual um, plica or frenula. If it's these are lateral. I think they wouldn't be plica here. These would be like other frenula, kind of lateral frenula, and this would be the frenulum. But that having to do with the labile, right? But I'm talking about sublingual underneath your tongue, um, and the curvature there. The little reservoirs on either side by your hyoid bone or mylohyoid bone. You, so day or D, two or T, but day or D, I think is what he actually does. D, no day, day. And if it were a two, te is the only thing that really works for any of the even the lower notes where you expect it to be two. It's like a on those te or day. And then you can use D or T or D on the higher notes. Whatever. So, it's a nice horn. I really love my Martin, and these are all like what I have mostly, with the exception of my two olds trumpets, are trumpets that are like pre 1932, really. So. And a little constrained over here in this region, as with Morgan with the Lee Morgan with the yes, we'll try to employ those exactly, the retromolar trigon. If so, you want to go a little higher than that, and it's more or less like the palatine tonsils, but it's definitely, it would be like maybe anterior, anterior, like edge of the, let's see, probably, no, the superior edge, because it goes all the way back, the length of the superior edge of the trigon. Pretty cool, and it sounds especially better on D because you remain that sizzle. If you still say day on the higher notes, then as we're aware of, I think in trumpet land, if you once you get above the staff, staff line on the why am I calling it the G staff, the treble clef, treble clef scale. When you get above the treble clef staff, which you often do in trumpet, you've got the whole treble clef plus, sub and super, people will say. And so this is like, those notes I think we want to do D or D for. That's something, you need a lot more musculature and refined. You have to be pretty detailed, and really just exercise is daily exercise is like with anything, daily mouth exercise, calisthenics and things like that are the only way to be able to achieve those notes. Because somebody was asking me about that the other day when I was hitting my C, which is just like, I guess that's beginner's goodness, right? Like the beginner's thumbs up, way to go kind of a thing. But it's just, like it's practice like anything else, I just want to say. And yeah, like those are the kind of tonal tips that I've got. And so much of it is, Baker's sublingual, lateral, tall in the mouth, and helical, like helical crest, helix, and we've got this, the lambdoid suture, we'll just say, but especially the lateral lambdoid suture, and I think any of these, like you want to use a lot of diaphragm, and just like when you're standing, I'm sitting, but like when you're standing, definitely, like, or sitting, you still have to employ your like your greater trochanter, so like where you keep your holster there. Anyway, I guess we're good. I think that's good enough, and signing off here.